You know that moment when you decide to start over? It can be small. A new job, a new city, a new person, a new version of yourself you're trying to become. And there's something strange that happens. Everyone around you looks at it from the outside and they see brightness, they see possibility. They see an ending of something old and the beginning of something new. They see your fresh start. And they're right, that's what it is. But there's something else happening inside you that nobody's talking about. Beneath the hope, there's a weight. It's not the weight of fear exactly. It's not that you're scared of failing or choosing wrong. It's something quieter, something harder to name. It's the weight of leaving something behind, even when you wanted to leave it, even when you know you need to leave it. You can be relieved and grieving at the same time. You can be excited and exhausted at the same time. You can be moving towards something and feeling like you're running away from everything all at once. And there's something in your mind that keeps whispering, shouldn't this feel lighter? If this is what you wanted, if this is what you chose, if this is supposed to be better, why does it feel so heavy? Here's what people don't tell you about starting over. Starting over isn't really about starting, it's about ending. You can't begin something new without ending something old, and that ending is real. It's a real loss, even when it's a loss you wanted. Maybe you're leaving a job where you spent 5 years of knowing what you were doing, of being good at it, of having a place, of having an identity within those walls, and now you're leaving that behind for something uncertain, something where you don't know anything, where nobody knows you. That's not just hopeful, that's terrifying. Or maybe you're leaving a place, a city, an apartment, somewhere that held your days and your routines and your small familiar corners, somewhere that had become a part of how you understood yourself. Even if that place was hurting you, even if that place was too small, even if you needed to leave it, your body still remembers it. Your mind still has grooves won into it, and now you're asking your whole self to rewire. We talk about progress like it's one direction, like you leave something behind and immediately feel lighter because you're moving towards something better. But the human heart doesn't work that way. You can know logically that the new thing is good for you. You can feel emotionally that it's what you want, and still there's this weight, this gravity pulling you back toward what was known, what was solid, what you understood. Because your mind and your body want to stay where they've built a home, even a home that was hurting you, even when you're the one choosing to burn it down. There's another thing that happens when you start over, and it's even stranger than losing a place. You lose a version of yourself. You've spent however much time being a certain kind of person, in a certain context, doing certain things, knowing certain truths about who you are, and then you step into a new beginning, and suddenly none of that identity is available to you anymore. You're not the person who worked at that job. You're not the person who lived in that city. You're not the person who was married or single or whatever you were. You're someone else now, someone unnamed, someone still forming, and that feels like disappearing. It's not that you wanted that old identity. Maybe you hated it. Maybe you spent years inside it feeling trapped and small and wrong. But it was real. It was solid. You knew how to be that person. You knew what was expected. You knew where the edges were. And now you're in a space where none of that applies. Everything you know about yourself has to be renegotiated. Every assumption you made has to be questioned. Every truth you believed about who you are is suddenly up for grabs. It's like being born again, except you're conscious for it, except you remember the last time you were here, except you know what you're losing. And your mind, trying to be helpful, keeps reaching backwards, trying to pull you back into the shape you used to be, because at least you knew how to exist in that shape. It's not that the new shape is wrong, it's that the old shape was at least familiar. And there's a grief in that, a real one. There's a strange thing about starting over that nobody wants to admit. When you choose it, when you make the decision to leave and begin again, You feel like you're gaining freedom, and technically you are. You're free from that context, free from those expectations, free from the person you were expected to be. But freedom is heavier than it looks from the outside. When you were inside the old context, there were rules, there were structures, there was a path. You could complain about the path, but at least you knew where you were walking. Now you have no path, you have possibility, which sounds beautiful until you realize that possibility means you have to decide about everything, every day. You have to decide who you want to become. You have to decide what matters. You have to decide which version of yourself you want to build. And there's no external structure telling you that you're doing it right. That's the weight of freedom. It's not the heavy feeling of being trapped. It's the heavy feeling of being responsible for all of it, for the whole shape of your life. When you were inside the old structure, you could blame the structure. You could say, this is what was asked of me. This is what was expected. This is why I am this way. But now you're the one choosing. Now you're the one deciding what happens next. And that responsibility is enormous. Because starting over isn't just about leaving, it's about becoming. And becoming is an act of creation. It requires something from you. It requires commitment and intention, and a willingness to fail, and a willingness to see yourself differently. That's not light work, that's heavy work. That's the weight you're feeling, not the weight of loss, but the weight of creation. Here's what nobody tells you about the in-between. When you leave something, there's usually a moment where you feel relief. You've made the decision, you've earned the bridge. There's almost a lightness in that moment. But then you step into the new beginning and the relief wears off, and you're just in it. You're in the uncertainty. You're in the place where you're not the person you were, but you're not yet the person you're becoming. You're suspended between two selves, two lives, two versions of everything. And it's the worst place to be. Because the old identity is gone, so you can't use it as a map anymore. But the new identity hasn't solidified yet, so you can't trust it as solid ground. You're walking through fog, and everything feels fragile. There's a kind of loss that comes in this in-between space that's different from the loss of leaving. It's the loss of certainty, the loss of knowing, the loss of being able to say, this is who I am. And your mind hates this. Your mind wants categories, wants definitions, wants to know where it stands. So it creates narratives. It tells you stories about whether this was a good idea, whether you made a mistake, whether you should go back. And some days you believe the stories that say it was worth it. And some days you believe the stories that say you've ruined everything. And both stories are true, and both stories are false, depending on when you're listening. This is the weight people don't talk about. It's not the weight of leaving, it's the weight of not knowing, yet, of being in the process of becoming, which means you're suspended in uncertainty for what might be a very long time. Sometimes, when starting over feels too heavy, people ask themselves, am I doing something wrong? Should I have waited longer? Should I have prepared more? Should I have made a better plan? And maybe some of that is true. But here's what's actually happening most of the time. There's a part of your mind that's still trying to live in the old structure, that's still reaching backward, that's still trying to solve the problem of uncertainty by finding something solid to hold on to. So it keeps suggesting ways to go back. It keeps whispering, maybe you didn't really need to leave. Maybe you could have made it work. Maybe you made a mistake. And it's not being cruel, it's being protective. It's trying to take you back to solid ground. But solid ground is where you were suffering. So you're caught between two impossible things. You can't go back because you know it was wrong, but you can't move forward because moving forward means living inside uncertainty. And your mind doesn't know how to do that. It wants you to have already arrived. It wants you to be able to say, I made the right choice and it's working and I'm happy now. But you're not there yet. You're somewhere in the middle. You're still in the becoming. And that's where the wait lives. There's something that happens if you stay in that wait long enough. Not something that makes it go away, but something that shifts how you relate to it. You start to realize that the wait isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. The wait is a sign that you're doing something real. Change is heavy. Transformation is heavy. Becoming is heavy. If it felt light, you probably wouldn't be changing anything significant. You'd be doing something small, something that doesn't require you to redefine yourself, something that doesn't ask you to live inside uncertainty. But you're doing something bigger. You're asking yourself to become something else, and that takes everything you have. The wait is also a sign that you're grieving, and you should be grieving. You lost something, even if you wanted to lose it, even if losing it was necessary. There's a version of you that existed before. That version is gone, and it's okay to mourn that. It's okay to feel sad about it while also feeling relieved about it. Those things can coexist. And there's another thing. The weight you're feeling might also be the weight of hope, because somewhere inside that heaviness, you're building something. You're creating a new self. You're designing a new life. You're making decisions about who you want to become. And that creation is heavy work. It's the weight of possibility, the weight of responsibility, the weight of saying, I get to decide, I get to shape this. And that's real power. That's real freedom. It just doesn't feel like it when you're in the middle of it. So if you're in the middle of a new beginning right now and it feels heavier than you thought it would, if you're grieving something you wanted to leave, if you're uncertain about something you chose, if you're suspended between who you were and who you're becoming and you don't know if you're doing it right, just know that the weight you're feeling is not a mistake. It's not a sign that you made a wrong choice. It's just what transformation feels like, from the inside. You don't need to feel lighter. You don't need to feel more confident. You don't need to arrive at some moment where you can say, I know it was worth it. You just need to keep walking through the fog, to keep becoming even though you don't know who you're becoming yet, to keep grieving the person you were while building the person you're becoming, to hold both things at the same time. And maybe, somewhere far down the line, there will be a moment where you look back and you'll understand it. You'll be able to see the shape of the journey. You'll be able to say, yes, it was heavy, but it was real. But you don't need that understanding yet. You just need permission to feel the weight and to keep going anyway.